Well, hi again, everyone, and welcome into UnAnchored Boston with Bob Lobel. I'm Mike Lynch, and as always, we are brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping and where? We're in New Hampshire, of course, and by the great George Gray, the big wheel we call him at George Gray's Lexington Toyota, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Well, the Super Bowl is set. It is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Fly Eagles Fly, which we're going to get into very heavily with our guest Upton Bell. And to introduce Upton Bell is the one and only Bob Lobel.
You know, I was just thinking about that. It used to be Roger Twibell was there at Channel 4 right. Before. Right. Roger Twibell, then it went to Lobel, and then it was Bell and Lobel on radio. And Lynch was, you know, we loved you, but you went in a different direction. So what can I tell you? You know, you had your own calling, and you did. Sometimes we'll talk about our individual stations and all the things we did in life and things we wish we could have done, and probably talk about some of the things we wish we hadn't done. That'd be more interesting.
Yeah.
Can I say I have not one regret, not one.
Well, maybe I might be it before this goes over.
No regrets. I look at it this way: when you blow it on something or you miss something, that it was meant to be. Just keep moving, man.
Yeah,
keep moving.
Yeah, well, now Upton Bell is the new coach of the Buffalo Bills. And I was going to say, Lynchy, do the Buffalo Bills deserve a new coach? And they don't.
No.
You think Sean McDermott, do you think their offensive plays were anywhere close to the offensive play calling of the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, but that's been the case for a long time.
Well, then why wouldn't you fire him?
Why didn't you fire Tony Dungy when he couldn't beat the Patriots? He was a great coach. You know, he found.
I don't think he's a great coach. I don't think he's a great coach. I would have fired him before this.
Who?
I wouldn't wait. It looks too bad if you fire him after Sunday, which was another screw up offensively. What he did, I kept yelling at the set. This is criminal. What the hell is he doing? Run the football. You don't need to throw it that much. They couldn't stop the run. And any good coach, Shula, Weeb Eubank, Belichick, anybody know the one thing that they're really great at, and you guys played, Lynchy, the one thing that they're all good at, they adapted. They understood the pulse of the game. This guy, to me, he's a good coach. He doesn't get it. And as long as he is there, they are not getting over the hump.
Well, I don't have many years left. That's the way that. All right, let me ask you the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady question, which, you know, and maybe there are others. Maybe the kid from the Commanders. By the way, Lynchy got the two teams right, and I got the two teams wrong. Just for the record.
I'm with you on that, because I did think that the Eagles are the most complete team in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs. That said, I thought this kid was this good. I go back to 1946 and watched every quarterback in the NFL break in. And I can tell you this, I have seen no greater rookie quarterback than Jaden Daniels. Absolutely. And I gave them a chance to win because of him. A few other things, I thought their team was a little thin. But when you look at even yesterday, he wasn't the reason they lost. I mean, he really played a pretty good game. He had one interception. You would take, if he went on the Eagles side with that Eagles team and he had that type of performance, it would have been a bigger blowout. To me, he is that good. I've never seen anybody better coming in his rookie year.
Upton, let me ask you this. Where did the song originate, Fly, Eagles, Fly?
Another story for you guys, an exclusive.
All right.
1957. I'm at the game with my father before the game, a couple hours before the game, and this pep band, this Eagle band, nothing big like today, starts playing the song, Fight, Eagles, Fight, da-da-da-da-da. I said to my father, being a wise ass, I said, Dad, that ain't going. that reminds me of when the Eagles were in Shive Park. Nothing. And here we are, how many years later? I mean, another century, and it's now the de rigueur. In Philadelphia, when I was back there for my father's unveiling of a statue at Franklin Field, you walk down Center City, and these people are walking around. They all have Eagles hats, and they're walking around and they're singing the song. I'm saying, I can't believe this crap really made it. But I mean, what a history. I mean, when it came out, and they kept playing at the Eagles games at Franklin Field, and there weren't 100,000 people there. And I remember, I think I said to Brent Buckland one time, who was really sarcastic, great quarterback, Hall of Famer. And I said to him, what do you think of that? And he just looked at me like, what are you, a dope? But it just shows.
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Fly, Eagles, fly. Da, 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 da. Hit 'em high, hit 'em low. Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. Eagles, Eagles.
I thought it was so amateur when I first heard it. But what's behind the whole thing? What I have on today, the insignia, Bert Bell buys the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets out of bankruptcy. He's walking down the street with his future wife, Frances Upton, my mother. She gives him the money because his father had cut him off from everything, said, he had just blown $100,000 in the stock market. And they looked up, and this is a true story, they looked up at the National Recovery Act Eagle on a billboard, and my father said, there's the name. That's how you got the Eagles. Everything happens by accident.
You know, the only thing that surprises me is at the end that Eagle fans actually know how to spell Eagles.
Yeah, well, today they're a little more educated. We think. I know it's now become a whole cult.
Yeah.
And I mean that new stadium, everything else like that. In 1955 or 56, they were going to be thrown out of Shive Park, which was the home of the Eagles and the Phillies and the Athletics. Ironically, the Eagles were about to go under many times. My father owned them. He went to Connie Mack, who, of course, really owned part of the stadium and, of course, was the big power in baseball at that time of the Athletics. And he said, basically, Mr. Mack, we're in trouble. Can you help us? They played at Municipal Stadium, where Bert Bell holds another record, 100,000 empty seats. And he's playing the Bears that day. It was raining, and he actually tried to talk the owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers when they had a football team, the owner of it, out of playing the game. He said, let's call it. The guy said to him, they had dinner the night before. The guy said to him beforehand, he said, I just got engaged to Sonia Henney. Do you remember the Olympic star?
Yeah.
He said, I ain't getting out of this goddamn game. We're playing it. So finally, my father kept talking to him. This was at Luke Tendler's restaurant, which is still there. He says to my father, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a break, Bert. Let's flip a coin. If you win, the game's off. If I win, the game's on. And Arthur Daly of the New York Times happened to be sitting there listening to this. And my father said, I can't do it. And he said, you'll pay the price. And he did. Nobody in the stadium. It's still a record in the NFL. I think 9, 10, 20 people showed up, and everybody's in the press box eating Bert Bell's hot dogs. That's how it was going then, boys. Look at that.
This is the statue of your dad. Wow, that's something else.
It's the only statue of him as a football player. That's Joanne, lovely Joanne. That's my grandson and his girlfriend. this guy is a brilliant sculptor. He just sent me a miniature of that, which will go into the Upton Bell collection at UMass Amherst. Everything, all the statues around, including one in Narberth and one now outside at the Canton Hall of Fame, all picture him as, an owner or a commissioner. This is the only one as a player. And the guy copied it from 1917. He drove them to the Rose Bowl. And Penn, for the first and only time, played in the Rose Bowl. My father threw the first forward pass in Rose Bowl history. And he captured this sculptor, Brian Hanlon, one of the great sculptors in this country, captured Bert Bell. And the facial expression, if you look at it in the pictures of him as a young player, it was scary. So, see there, that's the Maxwell Club, and there he is as Keelan. You're doing a fabulous job. That's what he is. But there's another one now, right outside of where in 1920 they had the first meeting with Jim Thorpe and other people to form a league. George Howells was there, and in that Canton showroom outside it now is a huge statue of Bert Bell dressed in a hat and a suit with players on each side of him. That's a whole dedication because he founded the draft. No NFL. They're going out of business. So there we go.
I have in-laws, Upton, that grew up in my daughter's husband's parents grew up in Norristown. So they're diehard Eagle fans. And when they beat the Patriots that day, they openly wept. They wept because they never thought remember Chuck Bednarik in 1960, but they thought they'd never see the Eagles win an NFL championship. And I think if they win again, a great many people in that city are going to be weeping with joy as well.
Oh, there's no when they beat the Patriots the night before. I did not know this. Somebody got in touch with me from the Mainline Times. There is a historical marker. Bert Bell is the only person that has a historical marker. Has nothing to do with sports in the town of Narberth, where he moved and lived for years. And when the night before, they had a parade of people who went to the Bert Bell historical marker, and sang the Eagles fight song. There it is. Oh my God, Keelan, double her salary, will you please? This is the marker. It's by the Pennsylvania Historical Society. I don't think there's any other one in the country like this.
Wow. Look at that. Isn't that something else? Keelan's Keelan's killing it, isn't she?
Double the money. Who's doing this?
Keelan.
She went out to lunch in a substitution.
Wow.
She was afraid to come on the show because Lynch has COVID.
I don't blame her. By the way,
why didn't you wear a mask today, Michael? Because
I don't even know where it is. It's in my backpack.
And you have, and so you've exposed us.
Yes, you're all exposed.
With full knowledge of what you've done, you've exposed us to COVID.
If we catch it. By the way, one of the great pictures that hangs in the Truman Library is Bert Bell presenting a gold pass to Harry Truman.
Oh, you're testing her now to see if she can find this one too?
Find it if you will. Also in the picture is George Preston Marshall. But Truman, when he gave him, I was lucky enough to be at some of these things even as a kid. Truman looked at it.
Keelan, if you find this picture, I'm going to ask you to marry me.
Find it. Truman. There's the one this is fabulous. This is the one in Canton. And that sculptor has sent me a miniature again for the Upton Bell collection at UMass Amherst.
Well, which one's Bert?
Right in the middle with the hat on.
Oh.
That the whole idea was to
forget the statue. Who's the woman standing there?
A very, very hot sculptress. She is the only woman who is one of the best sculptors in the country that got this thing. All the other males, they dominated and everything, but she's the one that did it. So
Well,
that's.
of course she did.
But so Truman looks at the gold pass. Now you see him smiling in the picture with my father, and he looks at it like, and it's like, what the F is this? I mean, typical Truman. I mean, Truman was really great. I mean, you guys would have liked him. Unvarnished, very, very shrewd. I'll give you the final story because I know you need to get to the main items here.
What do you think? What makes you think that?
So 1958-59, Bert Bell registered himself as the first lobbyist in any sports history. And he did that because there it is. Oh my God.
My God.
What
Keelan, will you marry me?
Keelan, please. There it is.
Even hell, Harry. This Bert right in the middle, right?
Bert right in the middle. And I had to get permission.
Where have you gone, Harry Truman?
What happened is I had to get permission.
Keelan, do I have to get on my knee now?
Keelan,
I can't get on my knees, Keelan. I'm in a wheelchair. But don't let that stop you.
Keelan, can you find Francis Upton's movie, which is out there on YouTube?
Please, just give this girl a break. Will you? Let her think about the proposal, all right?
Well, so
Keelan, come on camera for a second. Keelan.
She is a star.
Well,
Keelan, we need you on camera.
I wish.
Obviously, you're not having. Oh.
There she is. All right, Keelan. All right.
I will tell you, I would like to see UMass Amherst appoint you the head of the whole collection.
I won't take all the credit. Jim helped me a little bit.
But so I want to tell you,
one not named Susan I've had a chance to marry.
I'm flattered.
Keelan, fabulous. So my father goes, and there's a picture with him. I don't think you'll find this one with Lyndon Johnson, one of the biggest BSers of all time. So he's down there and he's trying to get this passed. And Johnson is at the time, I think, the Speaker of the House. So I'm sitting there, my brother's sitting there, and Johnson, the big deal maker, says, "Hey, Bert," he says, "you know something, boy." He said, "I think we can do some business here." He said, "But I got this daughter, Lucy." And he said, "Your boy's looking pretty good to me." He said, "I might figure a way we can do this, but let's see if we can fix him up with Lucy." I'm looking, saying to myself, "You gotta be kidding me!" But that was Johnson, the deal maker. And if you saw all of these different people, what they're really like we're really ourselves. We're not doing a phony routine here. But
that's what's really frightening about the most part.
Yeah,
that is really a scary,
that's
scary thing to contemplate.
That is, but it is the truth.
I'd much rather you said we were faking it, but the sad truth is we're not.
Look at that. Another story around this one.
Okay, who's identify the starting at the left? That's you.
No, that's my brother Bert.
And that's Bert.
And that's my father. There's the handsome Upton right there. And that's my sister Jane, who ended up in Hollywood working for Dinah Shore. That's a whole other story. So
this is you number.
So that day, yeah, here.
Should have left the helmet on.
I did. So what happened is that day,
it's a good one.
My father had made a deal. Army wouldn't let the two legendary players, Doc Blanchard and Glenn Davis, go. They had to fulfill, like Staubach did, their 5 or 6 years. But unbeknownst to the Army, they were prepared. They were in the house, and we wanted to get a picture he did with them and say, hopefully when their service is ended. I mean, they were bigger. They were the Mahomes of their day. I mean,
Yeah, you think we'll ever get a chance to talk about Mahomes?
No, we'll get to him.
No, I don't. Yeah, well.
We should tell everybody we're talking with Upton Bell, whose dad, Bert, was the first commissioner of the National Football League, also owned the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's why there's so much Eagle talk going on right now. And I had an unfortunate death at halftime of a Eagles Lions game. Was it?
No,
Steelers?
we can move on. Here's the irony. Founds the Eagles, then during the Second World War, to stay alive, he sells the Eagles to a rich guy and becomes 50% owner of the Steelers. During the war, he told the NFL, don't close down. If you close down, you'll never open up again. By one vote, he won it. So that's how he ended up with the Steelers. So now we go to 1959, and of course, it's one of those days I've been out all night long having a great time and everything else. Show up, need tickets for my hanger-on friends. And with
I've never asked you for tickets.
No, I know you haven't. But what happened was 2 minutes left in the game. The two teams he owned, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles, are playing to almost a deadlock. Drive down the field, crosses the goal line as Tommy McDonald catches the winning pass. And I talked to Tommy about it many times.
No face mask.
Nothing. Crosses the goal line with it. My father drops dead. And of course, I mean, what a shock to me and for many years after that. But basically, Red Smith wrote, and many of the great writers that day, Bert Bell chose his time and his place watching the two teams he used to own with the winning touchdown. And McDonald at NFL Films, which you can see out there, said, I crossed the goal line and I'm going like, hey, everybody look at me. I just won the game. And he said everybody was looking the other way and screaming and yelling, which they were. And he said it was because Bert Bell was down in the stands. Final part of it, they go down to the Steelers bench to get the oxygen to try and save him. They run up in the stands. The oxygen doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't mean that he wouldn't have died anyway. I have no idea. But that's how it happened. And again, it's ironic. He and Art Rooney, two partners talking before the game. The Governor Lawrence was there. They had all sorts of going on. But the other thing I liked about him that is completely different, he chose to sit and die with the fans. There was a commissioner's box, and he insisted that he pay for it so he wouldn't have to be into any of the owners, even though they were great friends. He wanted that separateness. So he would move around the stadium. He ended up dying in the end zone. Wow. with the fans around him. And I kind of said, you know what? That's where he wants to be. But if he's going to go, there it is. Look at that. See, that's when that's Wellington Mara there. There's Jack Mara right next to him. And my father's pointing to, because he made a deal to get them out of the Polo Grounds, that's Yankee Stadium.
Yep. Wow.
Every major.
How come those owners, how come it's not like Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft, that those owners, how did we get to this point today? Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft versus those guys, Art Rooney and Bert Bell.
Very simply, they, and I knew this, they told the media, no shots of us. We're not going to be down in the locker room celebrating. We respect the game. We don't want any fancy stuff going on. You never saw an owner in his box shot by a fanny kissing network. Their relationship, if they told the player, this is the deal, or they told the player understood it was the truth. So it was a completely different world with these guys. They didn't want, some of the richest people, Dan Reeves and his partners had the equivalent of what an Elon Musk or somebody like that today would have. They all had money, not maybe as much as these guys, but they didn't want they would tell you, no publicity, nothing. In fact,
How did the Kansas City Chiefs become the Kansas City Chiefs?
two people, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. One was lucky in getting him, and the other one had enough of Philadelphia and moved on.
I'm asking more about the franchise. I mean, asking how did the Kansas City Chiefs become the franchise that they are? I know what they are today, but they were.
Well, let me give you, because you probably never read the Burt Bell book, which you should, On Any Given Sunday, which was his term, and which we threatened to sue the NFL if they tried to take it for a movie. Here's the real story. 1959, my father gets a call from Davy O'Brien. Davy O'Brien was the first quarterback ever insured by Lloyd's of London for $100,000 by my father. He was the Heisman Trophy winner at TCU. He was only 5'6", maybe 5'7", but what a great player. Now we're talking about those times. I'm not talking about now. He quit at the height of his fame to join the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover and became the greatest pistol shot in America. Terrific. So all of a sudden, one day after years they hadn't talked, Davy O'Brien calls my father and he said, I'm representing somebody that's interested in getting in the NFL. I can't use his name right now, but I want to tell you he has interest. Can we talk? My father first said to him, we can only talk if you tell me who it is. He didn't put up with any bullshit. And so, pardon my language for the audience. Anyway.
Wow.
So he arranges and he comes to my father's summer home, wherever you want to call it, Margate. And they sit down and talk, and that's when he reveals to him that it's Lamar Hunt. And Lamar Hunt.
What's the name of the trophy presented to the Kansas City Chiefs last night?
Right. So he talks to him about Lamar Hunt. He said Hunt did try to buy the Chicago Cardinals, which I knew about. And my father had said to Hunt or his group, he had said, we have of the 12 teams, we have 6 that are in the black. We still have 6 that are in the red. And I prefer not to expand or do any of this until we feel like we're really on solid ground. Now, people have to remember that basically only the year before the NFL began to catch up with baseball and again college football with the sudden death game, the Giants and the Colts, which my father put the rule in. So anyway, O'Brien said, would you meet with Lamar Hunt? And he said, yeah, but I'll do it quietly. So there was a meeting at our house with Lamar Hunt, who, by the way, was the shyest multi-billionaire I have ever been around. I mean, shy. And they had a conversation.
Bob Kraft? Never mind. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Is this a Woody Allen comedy?
No, go ahead.
So they have the meeting, and they decide to meet again. My father said to him, "Would you wait for a while and let's see what happens?" And he really didn't want to wait. There was a second meeting, which is in Burt Bell's book, at the tavern, and my brother said to me later, he said, he just sat there. Now, remember, he's only 27 years old, and he's talking to the commissioner of football. And basically, he said, well, what do you want, Lamar? And he kind of explained it to him. Long story short, that summer, if Burt Bell had lived, Lamar Hunt would have owned an NFL team, and you would never have seen the AFL. So here's what happened. He said, look at that. Look at that group. Wow. They call that the Foolish Club. All those people there. So anyway, what happened was he said, all right, I'll tell you what we'll do. He said, let me go to Congress, because at that time, Congress was really on the NFL on antitrust. that you're withholding players and you're doing this and that. So he said, let me go to Congress and announce that the American Football League is going to be a league in competition with the NFL, blah, blah, blah. Hunt gave him permission to do it. And basically, it got the NFL off the hook. But then Hunt asked him, would you be commissioner of both leagues? We'll have a playoff system like we have with the two separate conferences today. And my father said, I would be interested, but I really can't. I'm the commissioner of the NFL. I can't do it. If that didn't happen and Hunt gets the Cardinals, or my father wanted to go back to Dallas anyway because two teams had failed there originally years before. If that had happened, it's like everything else you guys know. It's the great what if of life. Because if my father had lived past that, you wouldn't have had a league. It would have been completely different. Or you would have had two leagues with one championship game and the way it is today. But that's what happens.
So the Kansas City Chiefs were the Dallas Texans in 1960.
They were, and as your favorite friend, Mr. Zelig here, being every place, is that the first game played in Dallas when the Colts, who I joined in 1960 when I was in college, when the Colts played in Dallas, the opening game for the Dallas Cowboys, both teams were not doing well, by the way. The Cowboys were a real lock on what they were doing. But I could tell you, I remember saying to somebody on the Colts, the Texans are not long for this world. And if he had not left there, because he was the real money. They talk about Baron Hilton and everybody else. Those guys had money, but not like he did. If he had failed there and didn't move to Kansas City, and at the time people said, what the hell? Who the hell is going to Kansas City? I mean, the A's in baseball going to Kansas City, but they didn't. He took a gamble, went to Kansas City because, frankly, he had no other place to go. And so, do you know, to this day, neither Lamar Hunt or Clark Hunt live in Kansas City. Never there. Fly in for games. So, what's that tell you about ownership?
That's like Jeff Lurie about to become you tell us before I do my campers show, my campers commercial for Cold Springs RV. I have to, I was going to say, well, what quarterback would you travel across country with, Mahomes or Josh Allen or Mike Lynch or Tom Brady? Just hang on a second. They're all quarterbacks. But that's his province. Before you answer that question, I forgot what
I want this. I told Joanne I promised her a honeymoon. For crying out loud.
It's about time. Right.
Let's go in the truck.
Okay, wait. Well, you got to buy one first. Campers, did you miss the Boston Camping and RV Expo? Well, Lynch and I missed it because we were on our way south. But anyway, don't worry. Cold Springs RV is going to be continuing the after show. The after show. It's different than this show, but this is a show. That is a real show. February 1st and 2nd, they'll have the same show specials from the Boston RV Super Show. So go see the latest in travel trailers, fifth wheelers, motorhomes, pop-ups, and more. In fact, my daughter in Washington State, all my kids, I had 3 kids. They couldn't get away far enough. My son went to Burlington, Vermont. He'll never come back. My oldest daughter went to Washington State. My youngest daughter's in LA. So they can't get far enough away.
And I knew all 3 of them.
I'm going to finish up then. I know you wanted to say something, but you're going to have to wait. So my oldest daughter bought something they call an Alaskan. You know what? If anybody out there knows what an Alaskan is, I want you to go to Cold Springs RV and explain to them what an Alaskan is, because she wants to upgrade. And if you have an interest in upgrading your Alaskan, I'll be your intermediary, Cold Springs RV. Just call Burke Enterprises. in Bedford, New Hampshire, and they'll set it up. Okay, shut up, Bob. Go inside their indoor showroom and tell them that Lobel and Lynch sent you shop now for the best selection for 2025 Cold Springs RV, Route 114 in Ware, New Hampshire.
Where?
North of Tingsboro, west of Goffstown, Cold Springs RV.com. That's our pitch, but it's a fastball right down the middle.
All right. So last time up, and we asked you who you could take anybody to ride in a Lobel Lynchy cruiser cross country, and you picked Taylor Swift last time, which I'm sure didn't sit very well at home. So now you have a mulligan to decide who you want to take. You could take a male, female, someone historical figure, family member, someone past, present, alive, deceased. Who would you ride cross country with in the Lobel Lynchy cruiser? Someone have a nice conversation.
Would you come over here? Quick, get over here. I owe her something.
No,
Get over
please
here.
get over here. That's the way they don't.
Please.
That's better. I'm so proud of you.
Here's Joanne.
Hi, Joanne.
I'm falling over. Hi, everybody.
That's a good choice, Upton. An excellent choice.
There we
I'm
go.
telling you, she's a gorgeous, and so I promised her that
And
I
I
would.
put up with a lot.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Can't imagine.
A shocker.
So I could take her out west. I want to do the Grand Tetons in Yellowstone. I've done everything else. I've been to the Grand Canyon 4 times. You name it, I can just see it. Your good friend, both of you, John Havlicek, once told me, he said when he got the camper when the Celtics honored him that day, he said there is nothing I've ever seen in this country like the Grand Tetons. So there it is. I know a lot of rich people in the towns out there. So I figure if I could take the camper, I would, live in the camper and actually go eat with some of my rich friends. So is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
For you, anything.
Yeah, whatever you want. And we got a presidential and a princess suite on board.
Oh,
You got all the room you want. It's going to be spectacular.
this is. Oh, I'm telling you.
So you could even think about buying the Celtics like Jeff Lurie.
Well, I can tell you, I knew he had. If he hadn't been kind of pushed out.
Did you hear this story, Mike?
I'm not sure.
This is a good one.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, I am too. When I talked to Upton on the phone this morning,
I called him. I said, Jeff Lurie has a box.
Owner of the Eagles
has a box at the Celtics game. Comes up quietly and sits there and watches games.
Kraft sits courtside. Why can't Jeff Lurie sit courtside?
Because he's not interested in people looking at him all the time. He's a very kind of quiet, different type of guy. But I thought he had gotten it. He was the original guy that wanted to buy the Patriots.
Right.
And he was in the bidding. But when he saw, we know what, listen, you know what this town is. They at least then, when they knight somebody, I knew Kraft was going to get it. But I think that Lurie might have bid more than Kraft for the Patriots. But when he saw that he wasn't going to get it, the Eagles were available and bought the Eagles. But went to Brandeis. He's all around here. And his family had originally General Cinema, I think it was, that they owned, and they sold it. And now it's got whatever it is. But he is one of the finalists in the first round of bidding. So he has made it into the second round. And I'm told that if he got it, that it would be bye-bye to the garden, that he would be willing to eat whatever the contract is left. And I know it's long-term, and look at building it somewhere else where he owned it. Those guys are different. Those they aren't the Jacobs, that want to suck every cent out of you. Whenever you see these billionaires now, particularly in the NFL, they'll buy the team, but they want their own stadium. They want their own place where they can party and do their own thing. And I think even with the situation in Washington, with the owner coming down there from Philly, and I think eventually you're going to see their own thing, which brings me to another point. 1953, this group wanted to buy the Detroit Lions. And my father said they owned other sports things. And my father said to them, well, if you buy into the NFL, you can't own any other teams. Now, of course, today that had been struck down in court and everything else like that. But he said something that was prophetic that we do see today. And that basically is, he said, I want people who own these teams to concentrate on football. I don't want them to have football, basketball, baseball franchise, and their interests are all over the place. I want somebody that is dedicated to the NFL business-wise and all the decisions we have to make. Of course, today he'd have been sued, whatever it is. But I ask you, look at the guys that Josh Harris, who owns the Sixers. Now he owns Washington. Look at it here. What happens? Look what John Henry's done, listen, it's business, but to me, it's a complete disgrace. Pittsburgh Penguins, those people that kick balls around in Manchester, play with their balls, whatever they do, that's what you've got. You've got these huge corporations and these huge situations where, what's really, to me, and I've seen this happen before, what has happened to the Celtics, what has happened particularly to the Red Sox. The Red Sox are no longer the focal point for John Henry. He's got all of these different things, and that's the whole thing. I've been told by millionaire friends of mine, the whole idea now in sports, diversify. And not only that, on top of it, the thing that I would have fought to the death, and I'm sure my father would have, even though, again, he would have lost, is sports getting in bed with gambling has tripled the worth of their franchises, but also is really it's a bad thing. It's a bad look. When you're that big, when you're the NFL, which is the biggest thing on earth outside of soccer and will be bigger than soccer someday, you don't need to get in bed with that. It's disgusting watching the Mannings and some of these other people, out there like a bunch of prostitutes. I know that they're making the money and everything else to do it. If I see Jamie Foxx,
how much money do you think those guys? I mean, this is just. I was in a conversation last night as I'm watching this game at some bar down here in Hilton Head. You said that. Anyway, we had this conversation. How much money do you think the Mannings or Mahomes gets paid for their commercials? How much does State Farm? What is their advertising budget? State Farm. How much money do you think that they spend for advertising and charge and insurance fees for other? We were just bantering this around, and we never, we don't have these conversations very often. And then I was curious. So I'm just asking. I have no clue what Peyton and Eli Manning would make for a commercial, or how much Mahomes would make, or what.
Start with $1 million.
Huh?
That's what a friend of mine told me. Start with $1 million. You can't talk to those guys unless you're starting at $1 million. And not only that, they have side deals too. If the company sells more and everything else, I will say this: unlike Brady, Peyton Manning might not have won like Brady did on the field, but off the field, he is brilliant. I mean, Trump, for all of his stuff that he does, I wouldn't hire Elon Musk and those stiffs that he's hired to pretend like they're doing something. I would hire Peyton Manning. That guy is brilliant. He's got his own production company now. He is, I mean, when you wake up in the morning, go to the toilet, his picture is up on the wall. I mean, that's who he is. He was from the very beginning, even as a player, a brilliant marketer. He's likable. He knows how to sell. Believe me, started $1 million with these guys, and now everybody can benefit because of Peyton Manning. I mean, think of Mahomes. I mean, Andy Reid is farting for $1 million. You know, that's what it is. So you have all those tentacles out there. But the one thing that I think still someday will come back to bite the NFL, and that's the gambling.
Here's the thing I have about it's estimated that Mahomes is making $40 million in endorsements in 2021 alone, thanks to deals with brands like Adidas, Oakley, and State Farm, according to Forbes magazine. So off the field for 1 year, $40 million alone with sitting in front of Jake from State Farm. And that's another thing. These guys, these influencers, how much Jake from State Farm, what was he doing in his career before State Farm came along, before he answered the phone and said, Jake, what are you wearing? It's Jake from State Farm. That's how it started for Jake for State Farm. And, what do you think he's making a year doing, as an influencer for the commercials, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying it's been a whole fantastic industry. And you're saying Peyton Manning ought to be the president of the country, basically, up there.
Well, but this not, yes. But anyway, if I were a group, if the Democrats want to try and get back after blowing everything, I would go to Peyton Manning, and he's likable. He knows how to BS. He's a little bit of a real conservative that I think could pull people in. You need somebody that can pull people in. Do you know one person that sees a Peyton Manning commercial and says, oh, I can't stand that son of a bitch? They don't. Part of being president or head of anything, you guys, why were you guys so successful? People liked you. You've got to be liked. I don't care what any politician, radio, television, whoever it is. The first and foremost thing I always saw and learned growing up as a kid is, if you're not likable, you could be brilliant and nobody gives a shit.
Well, Mike and I both agree. This is why we had you on the show.
Yeah.
Just so you could honor that statement.
How do you like the sport coat? Pretty good, huh? Big wide lapels.
Well, that pattern is coming back.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
Snoop Dogg's got one.
It's been around long enough that it's coming back.
I'm telling you. Trust me.
When one off some horse up in Suffolk Downs, one for a blanket.
Oh yeah. Well, tell me any business, the business you guys are in, any business you're not likable. Is anybody going to care?
No, you're absolutely right. That's why people watch a certain channel, not because they like the commercials, they like the background, the graphics, because they like the people who are in front of the camera. You either like that person or you don't like that person. It's simple and cut and dry. That's it. You're right, Upton.
Likability, and some people have it and some people don't. I will say this, as much as people dislike Roger Goodell, and I will say, by the way, I don't know, will I send it to you guys? I should send it to you. It's 35 minutes. Yeah, you have to listen to me a little bit. But I got in touch with Goodell's office. Now, I never met him. And said, would you come to the Burt Bell dedication and statue unveiling? And he first said, right out of the box, yes. And then he got back to me through his representative and said, the problem is it is my wife's and mine anniversary, and I just can't do it. But he said this, send me all the things that your father did. And he said, I'll take it from there. It's on YouTube. If you ever saw it, you would say, wow, What a man of compassion. He was almost in tears, and he wasn't faking it. I know when people fake it. And I was blown away. I called back the office. I said, you had people here in tears. So what I'm saying is, forget his policies, making 60 million and really he's surrounded by billionaires that have egos coming out our ear. But when you look at him with the pictures, like yesterday, 2 people sending him to the Super Bowl and this and that and like that. If you didn't know all the other stuff behind, you'd say, Jesus, it's a good looking, pleasant guy who makes people feel good. So again, back to the philosophy we all have. If you're likable, you can get away with everything. Just look at Bill Clinton. Likable.
Oh, is that what it takes?
So
Well, not the other part.
Really
Look at this.
No, Bob. Sometimes, Bob, you just really disappoint me. All right, I'm sorry.
Lynch,
Keelan, put that one back up there again.
Lynch, you won't believe this story. That's the general manager who got fired for screwing around with somebody in the office. That's Bob and myself.
That would be him in the middle.
Yeah. So look at this one. Dennis Eckersley and Harry Sinden, Lobel and myself. But boy, I'm telling you, you better triple her salary. So what happened was the general manager, Bill, what the hell's his last name? Cusack. He gets this weird idea. He said, I need to promote you guys. I said, we're doing well. He said, I just discovered nobody has broken the world record for shooting 24 hours a day, hour after hour. And I said to Lobel, Jesus Christ, oh my God, this is going to be painful. Can we get out of it? No way. Not with Bill Cusack, because he was Mr. Macho too, right?
Hey, Lynch, we'd have a softball game, like the BZ All-Stars at Cleveland Circle, okay? And back then, people would show up. I mean, it was BZ,
A lot of people.
This is before you and I were in the television. It was BZ Radio, and they'd have 3,000 people show up for this All-Star, and he'd come in a helicopter. He wouldn't know. We'd all get there. But no, the general manager of the radio station, he'd fly in and land in center field in a helicopter.
I'm walking the pitcher's mound. I'm going like, is this for real? Is this a Woody Allen movie?
It was really unbelievable, actually.
So he said,
Hey, let me ask you this:
we better.
Is the entire nation, except for the state of Missouri, rooting for the Eagles on Super Bowl Sunday? Does anybody want Mahomes to set the record with 3 straight Super Bowl championships, or will the majority of this nation be rooting for Fly Eagles Fly?
I don't know. I think it's a divided nation to begin with. I know this. I mean, I should be rooting for my father's team, and because I think they're the best overall team. But I like to see records be broken. So I'd like to see Mahomes. I don't think he's going to do it, by the way, because I think the Eagles are too strong. But I like to see. I can remember how many times that I'm not name dropping. I either talk to Joe DiMaggio or Bobby Feller or people like this. Kids growing up, when my father took me to the games and introduced me to these people, took me in the locker room. I remember one day, even Teddy ball game, and a couple of them said, talking about breaking records, and one of them kind of was spitting out of the side of his mouth, and he said, you know what, Bert, I'll tell you this. These records are around to be broken. And that's just the way I see it. I don't care if people hate Mahomes. I don't care. He's a likable guy, by the way.
Did you hate Mahomes? I don't understand that.
Because it's Boston. Boston hates everybody. You can walk out around the corner and some guy's saying, "Why, you son of a bitch." It's Boston. Boston and Philly are almost alike.
Right.
And Philly.
Lynchy, who do you want to win?
I want the Eagles to win.
All right, and I want I want the Chiefs to win. My parents are buried in Kansas. I know Kansas City plays in Missouri, but it's still Kansas City. My parents are buried in Topeka, and I'm rooting for Kansas City. And not because I agree with you, Upton. I want to see the records broken. I mean, I don't want Tom Brady and the Patriots to last forever. I don't think so.
No, nothing lasts forever, as we know. And in this case, see, I think when you talk about the Patriots' 6 Super Bowl wins and Brady's 7, what I think, that's all well and good, but never. And I was around, and when the Colts won the first sudden death game in 58 and then in 59, we were leading into 60. We would have been the first three-peat team in history. We were leading after 6 games, and then Unitas got hurt and 2 of our other players, and that was it. The Packers came in and they won, and then eventually played the Eagles. I think this would be something that would be remembered forever, because in this game, as it's getting more and more 18, 20, 30 games, guys losing limbs, concussions, everything, I don't think you'll ever see this again. I think you can see somewhere along the line somebody building up 5 or 6 Super Bowls, but not this. Too hard to do it. So I'm rooting for this. I'm rooting to see somebody, and I know on the other end, these people will be calling these shows, well, they call them shows, but these people will be calling the shows and bitching, and I started to hear it this morning. Oh yeah, it's so bad. I mean, we love our guys, and please.
Okay, can I ask you guys a couple quick questions before we have to go off?
Yes.
That's it.
No, yeah, don't get panicky, Upton. No, it's not it just yet. Okay,
I promised you in another hour and then cocktails.
Couple quick questions. Okay,
Yeah.
These are off the rail sports. We're doing this podcast on a Monday, but this is one of those evergreen podcasts. It'll last until the Super Bowl and beyond. So, the golf league goes inside tonight, and the Boston team plays tonight.
Can I throw
I'm
up?
going to ask you about this the whole concept about this indoor golf league. And then the other thing is, I'm sitting at this Mexican restaurant down here in Bluffton, South Carolina, okay, the other night. And there's 4 big screens up there. And meanwhile, while I'm watching, there's 4 different sporting events going on. And since it's a Mexican restaurant, it was Saturday night, and I'm waiting for a group of people from ICE to come in, knock the door down, and take everybody out and send them down to Mexico, and myself would be included. Right? I'm sitting at a bar, and I'm just waiting, for that door to be broken down by ICE, right? And this Mexican restaurant. But up on the wall is, I'm not kidding, this thought came through my mind. But what, seriously, I said anything could happen nowadays. I'd be sitting there, and all of a sudden some rifle butts will be coming through the doors and say, okay, everybody up against the wall. ICE is here. So up on the screen is MMA, but women in a triangular ring.
Yeah, beating the hell out. Yeah.
No, Lynch, you've seen this? This is women.
Yeah.
No, they're beasts, but fist fighting.
Ultimate fighting, right?
Because they're actually, because it's part of the MMA. And you're saying, who are these people? Who are these people sitting in the stands or sitting around the ringside, cheering? Yeah, who are these people? And why are they doing this? And why are these 2 women with no gloves on fist fighting in the ring? I mean, just beyond comprehension. Okay, those are starting with the golf league, and then you can take it from.
Wait, where are you now? You're in South Carolina?
Yeah, Bluffton, South Carolina.
Okay.
There's snow on the ground, by the way.
You understand? He's in South Carolina.
To the snow.
I spent a lot of time in South Carolina. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah, but why?
You don't have the highest IQ in South Carolina, man. I'm telling you, Bob.
I'm not going to say anything about that.
You don't have to say anything. I'm just telling you, I used to go to a lot of those.
Tell me about the golf stuff. Go to the South Golf. Tell me about the indoor golf.
Well, you guys are golfers. All I can tell you is this: when I saw it announced, and now tonight ESPN is pushing it because they have the rights to it, and they're giving the come on.
Right. Rory McIlroy is our guy, our Boston guy.
Yeah. I think. Let me see if I can think of anything more fraudulent than this thing. It is. You know what?
Well, Fenway Sports Group is backing TGL.
It's because they'll get some techies and some people that want to watch this crap, but I mean, when I was growing up, the greatest con of them all had millions of people watching every Wednesday and Friday night, and that was wrestling from Madison Square Garden. Gorgeous George coming in, perfuming himself all over the place, and then kicking the shit out of somebody. And people were going, they paid hundreds of dollars to watch it, but it was at least somewhat legitimate. People are flying through the air, they're stomping on their face, or they're pretending to do it. And it was great showmanship. This, to me, is boring crap. I mean, do you like it?
Know the rules? You ever watched it, Lynchy? Have you had a chance to watch it yet?
Well, I watched the day that Tiger Woods was on, and that had pretty good ratings. But I just wasn't. It just, to me, it reeks of just going and playing miniature golf indoors. I'm just not interested.
There are tons of rules. There are all kinds of rules. Nobody knows the rules. It's just ridiculous.
It's esports. You know what? The guy from Philly that owns the Redskins now. He and I think Kraft's in it. Esports. It's a bunch of young guys sitting around picking their nose and pretending like with all this stuff. And you know what? It's like a lot of phony stuff. People invest in this, and then they sell it. I mean, it's like Bitcoin. It means nothing. You can put something out there, and somebody will say, "Oh, that's really good." That's what it is.
Well, how about the MMA? What about these women? It doesn't have to be women. It can be just because men.
Brutal. Have you ever watched?
Gloves, I'm just saying it's.
Have you watched it, Lynchy, at all? The MMA?
It violates everything you were taught about fair fighting as a kid.
Yeah, I mean it is brutal. I've turned it on a couple of times just to see what it was like, and to see women beating the hell out of each other. I mean, and they're down the ground kicking them in the face. I'm saying, why do I want to watch that? But there are a lot of people that like to watch pain being inflicted. And so, that's the other end of it.
All right, speaking of pain being inflicted, how do you think Mike Vrabel's going to be going? What do you think his future is here in New England and the Patriots? And I guess I got to shut up. We're way over time. And
well, let me get this spot in
George
first.
Gray commercial. What?
Let me get this spot in first, right?
Yes.
Hey, if you're thinking about a new vehicle,
right.
If you're thinking about a new vehicle, go where Lobel and Lynchy go.
Yeah.
Go see our good friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. Lobel and I have been customers for years because we know that George Gray will treat you right. They're a family-owned and operated dealership that we trust, and you can trust as well. So don't watch any of that stuff that Lobel was talking about. Go see the great George Gray at George Gray's.
I'm not advocating you watch it. I'm just bringing it up that it's out there.
Yeah, but go for a ride in one of George Gray's Lexington Toyota cars. You'll be better off, that's for sure. George Gray, the big wheel we call him, 409 Mass Ave in Lexington. Great service, great sales, great crew, great family. You won't go wrong. You'll be a customer for life. I guarantee it.
Good job. I'm waiting for the knock on the door. Ice. This is Ice. Open up. All right, Upton. What about Vrabel and Josh McDaniels and the go around here and what is the future and the prospect?
I like Vrabel. I wonder if because he's I like it. He's opinionated. He's tough. He's not going to take any crap, pussyfoot around. But I do wonder with his first really big hire, which is offensive coordinator. I like Josh McDaniel, but I wonder whether that was Kraft fostering him on him. I also wonder because you have the contract, the offset here, and the Patriots have been pretty much most of their career number 31 in the money spending, no matter what Kraft tells you. But I do like the rest of his staff. I think the biggest problem is somebody said to me today, you can have the greatest coaching staff in the world. And I think it's a really good staff. But if you have no players, you're nowhere. You have no players. You're talking to somebody who spent most of his life till I ended up in the angelic hold of you, Bob. That
Sound like I ruined it.
yeah.
Oh, there's a knock on the door, Upton. Go ahead.
No, they're not going to knock. They're gonna bust the door.
Make sure, take him away.
Okay.
So what I did was drafting, and I was pretty damn good at it. And the one thing that was explained to me the minute I got to the Colts camp in 1960 and all the way through was no talent, no team. And I think that's my biggest worry. He needs to really, and you guys, Lynchy,
Look at Vince Lombardi when he went to the Redskins. The greatest coach in the history of Earth. He goes down to the Redskins, can't win 50% of his games because he didn't have the players. No, if Rabel puts a uniform on and McDaniels puts a uniform on, they might be able to beat every other team if they play with their front office and the coaching staff. But they don't. They play with players, and they don't have the players right now to compete.
And I question the general manager. Ron Wolf's a friend of mine, although I haven't seen him in years. I just don't think this. Well, he's not a kid. I just don't think Wolf has it. And I think their greatest need is you have Rabel. He's going to be dominant in many ways. But I never knew a team. And I remember Pete Rozelle saying to me from the very beginning, Upton, the coaches and the players are gone, but it's up to the general manager to build a team. You don't build a team, you're out. And that's going to be, you could right now, I could tell you, you could right now go in and get rid of everybody on the offensive line today. That's how bad that situation is.
Yeah.
You have no receivers. They can say, he caught a few, this and that. You have one good thing, but if you don't surround him with people, he will not last very long, and that's the quarterback.
You're absolutely 100% right.
If you don't get people in front of him that can at least give him a little bit of time to throw and don't get him killed, and if you don't look at the receivers that we watched over the last 3 or 4 weeks. These guys are speed merchants. They cut it off. They come back. They can do all the things.
Kansas City, who are these guys? Number 5, number 1. They're unbelievable. They just keep coming at you.
That's the whole thing. Plus, they have a great quarterback, of course, in front of them. But even Kansas City, if we think their receivers aren't as good as, let's say, the Eagles. I mean, Brown is Jesus. He lives in the stratosphere. And some of these clowns here saying, oh, I think we can trade for him. I'm telling you, this is Disney World here right now, particularly the people on the radio. It is absolutely Disney World. Oh, my God, there's Lobel. We think we can get her for a certain amount. It's hilarious.
All right. So, you did, Upton, you did a great job. We have to.
Hey, Upton, if Lobel disappears, like after this show, are you available next week? If Lobel,
shut up! Don't give me up so much. You have COVID. You're not thinking straightly.
Well, I would consider it as long as I have police protection. I mean, it's Cambridge, boys. I'm telling you, Cambridge could.
By the way, what college? What kind of a college mascot is a crimson? What the hell kind of a, no, seriously. Well, I mean, you talk about, okay, where the Golden Flashes. Upton, what was your school's name?
Malvern Prep. We were called, you ready for this, something original? The Friars. And the reason we're called the friars is the friars, the semi-priests, the priests taught us.
Yeah, but you went to
rubbed off a lot.
what'd you go to college? LaSalle?
Went to LaSalle, but here's my
The
high school.
Explorers, right?
Yeah,
The
here's
what?
my high school starting team.
LaSalle. Wait. I know you're going to have Lakino on. What was your college's nickname?
The LaSalle Explorers.
Oh, okay. Not Crimson. Not the blues.
Not
the greens. Not the oranges. Not the yellows. The crimson.
Yeah, the Crimson.
What the hell kind of? Who came up with that? Really?
I don't
John
know.
Harvard.
If you walk into Harvard Yard, I'm 5 blocks from there, and you walk through Harvard Yard, all I know.
You know what? If you walk into Harvard Yard, find the library and tell Lynch where it is.
It's not there. There are too many demonstrators.
Okay.
But anyway, let me quickly end with this. The starting lineup. Paul Westhead, eventually coach of the Lakers.
Right.
Jim O'Brien, captain of Villanova's team that went to the finals of the NCAA. Bob Kelly, captain of Penn. And Vince Wolfington, who actually was on the same team and one of their best players with Paul Tagliabue at Georgetown. And then, of course, Upton Bell, one of the most fabulous high-flying jump shooting guy. And I will tell you, if you go down to the Palestra where I played,
Can't wait. I'm going to make my resume.
make a note of that. Yours truly is still on the record book for the most field goals scored in one game, 15 against St. Joe's College, and that was in 1957.
How couldn't make a foul shot in 24 hours out at the Prudential Center?
Well, I did. I shot 80%.
Okay, right.
No, hey, Lynchy.
Revisionist history. Yeah, you guys will make a great pair. I'll be.
Hey, Upton, you know what you and I have in common? I threw a touchdown pass at Franklin Field.
Whoa.
Wow.
Franklin Field, a
What
huge
year?
stadium. Yep.
What year?
75.
Jesus. Lobel, what have you done for us lately?
I made all county in Wayne County, Ohio. All county linebacker and as a linebacker.
Look at us. There he is.
Okay,
Holy
fine.
Christ.
That was the Red Sox fantasy camp.
Wow.
You were the exchange prisoner, I think. Was that what that was?
The Red Sox fantasy camp. Yeah, that was a Sox.
It says Sox exchange. So like they have exchange of prisoners.
You got to admit, I looked like a player.
Yeah, you got the ear flaps on both sides.
Well, I don't know what it wasn't mine. It was the team's. I didn't pick it.
Yeah,
Crimson. I didn't go to Crimson.
Crimson. Yeah,
So-
I don't know what that means.
That's
So-
exactly my point.
So who is
It means embarrassment is what it is.
who is the greatest athlete that went to Hollywood and succeeded?
In what?
Who was the greatest athlete?
Jim Brown.
Huh?
Jim Brown.
Good one.
Uh, he-
Yeah, good one.
Well, I'll tell you the guy who was really big at one time.
Pee Wee Herman.
Johnny Weissmuller,
Yeah,
Olympic champion, Tarzan. Oh,
that's
I
right.
mean,
Why are you saying that?
because he was the biggest. You on Turner Classic Movies, you can see him every Saturday.
Well, I know, but why are you bringing this up? What relevance does that have?
Because it shows what's happened in Hollywood and showbiz now too, and where
You know what?
sports.
You don't give a shit about Hollywood and show business.
Or I do. Are you kidding me?
We have to go. Don't you understand?
I'm telling you guys,
This is not a 24-hour service that we provide for people.
people will
I know
be.
it's one of those sleep apps. You want to get an app, put a sleep app on your phone. What is the name of this show?
UnAnchored Boston.
No.
All I can tell you is
Full throttle.
your
Full throttle
audience,
sports. That's us. Full throttle.
your audience will be screaming for me to return. I
You're
guarantee.
screaming. You should have ended the sentence right there. See you later.
Upton, thank you. Thank you. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for stepping in COVID-infested waters and pulling it off like a champion.
And beware of the knock on the door, Bob.
Very,
Beware
very
of the-
crimson of you.
It
Very, very big. We're the knock on the door. All right, folks.
Bob,
That's our show.
Thank
Happy.
you.
would you
Bye-bye.
leave me something?
Come
If
on, come on, give him 5 up to wave.
will
Attaboy.
you guys, Bob, if it does happen, you're gone. Would you do something? Leave a note behind. I knew Upton, something like that. You know.
Yeah, I'll be on it right now. Right.
Fly, eagles, fly on the road to
Up to
victory. Fly,
Fly,
eagles,
eagles,
fly.
fly.
Hit 'em,
Yeah,
hit
hit
'em,
'em
hit 'em low, hit 'em high.
high and low.
Watch our eagles
Watch
fly.
our eagles
Fly, eagles, fly. On the
fly,
road to
eagles, fly. On the
victory.
road to victory.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I'm so
There
sorry.
we go. All right,
First bell
folks.
is looking
That's
down.
it. Make sure you check us out at
I'm
unanchoredboston.com.
so sorry.